Long Island is the largest island in the contiguous United States with a whopping 1,400 square miles. With so much to cover, I figured I'd enlist the help of fellow YouTubers who are local to show me around and to tell me what makes Long Island so special. While we only cover a small portion in this video, we try to make the most of our one-day exploring, and let's jump into it. I left New York City early in the morning and took the Long Island Railroad, also known as the LIRR, all the way out to the Huntington station. There was one transfer at the Jamaica station, and it took me about an hour and a half to ride all the way out to where I was meeting them on Long Island.
I met my tour guides for the day, Long Island residents Magellen and Greyhound. They told me that they plan a good adventure, so let's see what we're gonna do.
Woo.
Check it out. You know you have really good tour guides when they take you to the best bagel.
The best.
Guaranteed the best bagel in what?
Yeah.
In what? In Huntington?
Yes,
Is there anything more New York than a bagel? And this looked like a pretty good spot to start our adventure.
Alright, so I just ordered what the local told me to order. What do we get today?
We have bacon, egg, and cheese toasted on a roll, sunny side up, salt, pepper, ketchup. And that's what it looks like. It's just classic breakfast.
That sounds pretty good. Here we go. That's a good sandwich. I especially like the sunny side up egg. The way that it soaks into the bread with that bacon.
Yeah.
Strong.
After breakfast, we drove through the city and started the adventure by heading out to Caumsett State Historic Park.
We're in Coumsett State Park in Lloyd Harbor, and we're here to show you one of the Gold Coast estates, Marshall Field, mansions, stables, etc. There's amazing views of Long Island Sound here, and yeah.
In order to see as much of the park as possible and to make the most of the day, they brought bikes for all three of us, and we set out on the 5-mile biking trail. You can also hike this, but of course 5 miles takes a lot longer hiking than it does biking. Along the way you can see the remains of a dairy complex, multiple cottages, horse stables, and of course the mansion itself. I was told that exploring Long Island is not complete without seeing some of the Gold Coast mansions. These massive mansions were built for industrialists and business people at the start of the 20th century.
If you can imagine waking up every morning and eating breakfast here, I would like to live here. I would live here in its current state.
I would live here in its current state too.
Yeah.
Not that bad.
Known as Coumsett Manor and built for Marshall Field III, this is one of the best examples of what the sprawling estates used to look like along the Gold Coast. Of course, you can see the gigantic mansion, but seeing the surrounding property with all the owned land is what makes it truly impressive.
That is an amazing mansion. Great first stop on Long Island, and we are heading on the bikes to see some more of the park.
After leaving the mansion, we took a 1-mile offshoot down to one of the park's main beaches. Note that if you're biking or walking here, you're about 3.5 miles away from the parking area.
Someone used to own this. Now it's a state park. But can you imagine owning this?
Guys, that's so cool you brought me to your private residence.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna stay for a while.
This is what we do all the time. We just hang out here.
Before leaving the beach, there's also a short trail up on the 20-foot bluffs to the left of you that'll take you around and give you some great views out along the coast.
That was a beautiful state park, and if you don't want to bike, you can also walk those same paths we're heading on.
Heading on, we stopped at Coindre Hall just to see another Gold Coast mansion. It's normally only open for private tours or events, so we couldn't go inside, but we could look in the windows and take in this 40-room, 80,000 square foot house. Heading on, it was a 15-minute drive to our last of the historic houses that we were visiting today.
We are at Sagamore Hill, President Theodore Roosevelt. This was his summer White House. He would come out here because he loved it out here so much. He didn't want to be in DC.
Who would want to be in DC when you can be here?
This was the home of Theodore Roosevelt from 1885 until his death in 1919. It's beautiful to walk around and explore, and you can take guided tours inside on certain days. There was no tour available on the day we were there, so we just walked around and took it all in from outside.
Alright, so what does that mean?
I don't know. He who cultivates will get the yield or something like that. It's their, or yeah, it's like the family motto.
Alright, round 2. So you're gonna tell me what that means?
He who will plant it will cultivate it.
I'm impressed.
After walking around the house, be sure to take the path down to the visitor center and the Old Orchard Museum. The museum is amazing if you want to learn more about the man, as it talks a lot about his early life, his family, his time in the Rough Riders, and of course his time as the president.
This is so cool. I just saw Devil's Tower like 2 weeks ago, so see the impact that he had on that is awesome.
You could definitely spend 45 minutes to an hour here if you want to take your time and read all the information. Our last stop in the park was to head out on the nature trail to the Sagamore Hill Beach, which is about 3/4 of a mile round trip. The last portion of the trail near the beach is an elevated boardwalk which goes over Eel Creek and the marshlands. It's absolutely stunning, and I could see why Theodore Roosevelt would want to come down here all of the time when he was living here. Do note that it can get flooded and be inaccessible, so you can check the website before you go if you want to make sure you can see it.
I have to say, this is a pretty awesome nature hike, so definitely come down here when you're exploring the area. But now we're heading on to the Whaling Museum.
Another 15-minute drive brought us to Cold Spring Harbor and the Whaling Museum and Education Center, which opened in 1942 to preserve the rich whaling history of the area.
The whaling industry was incredibly important to Long Island. It was one of the first industries in Long Island, so this is why we're here at this museum.
While the museum is small, it houses over 6,000 documents and artifacts from Cold Spring Harbor and other Long Island whaling towns. Cold Spring Harbor was one of the 3 major ports used for whaling on Long Island.
How's it feel? Do you think you can bring that back to modern life?
Especially if you're gonna get a little crazy.
Privacy screen?
Yeah.
After leaving the whaling center, we said goodbye to the North Shore and headed 15 minutes south to the Walt Whitman Museum. Whether or not you enjoy reading his poetry, you can't argue with the literary impact that Walt Whitman's work has had. If you take the house tour, no photos or videos are allowed inside, but it's definitely worth exploring if you're into literary history. Inside of the small museum, you can learn a lot more about his life, and one of the things that I was most impacted by was listening to him read his poem America, which was recorded by Thomas Edison. After our morning of museums and biking, it was finally time to get some lunch, and if you know any local New Yorkers, then you know they are very opinionated about pizza.
So wait, what's the difference between New York City and Long Island pizza?
The basic difference is they cook it a little more in the city. Long Island people tend to like their pizza a little duller, a little thicker. I love Brooklyn pizza the best. You know, you can kind of see it's
The undercarriage?
yeah, the undercarriage.
How's the flop?
You know, it's not too bad.
Not too bad.
If you look here, this is what's called the gum line. They cook it through enough, right? So it's not bad.
I do prefer the city pizza.
Okay.
I do. This is not a proper fold.
Yeah.
Cheers. That's a good slice of pizza. It has a nice flavor. I really like the red sauce on it. Got good spice to it. I'm not upset about that. Good slice of pizza. I don't know if I'm just hungry because I haven't eaten. It's 2 p.m., but that was some good pizza. Let's explore more Long Island.
Leaving Pizza, our goal was Fire Island, about 30 minutes away.
On our way down to the South Shore, we wanted to stop by the Amityville Horror House. It's private property, but you can see it from the road if you're interested.
Do you remember that even though it doesn't look like we're covering a ton of stuff in one day, it takes a while to drive around Long Island with traffic and just with how big it is? After crossing over the Fire Island Inlet Bridge, we arrived at Robert Moses State Park and headed towards the Fire Island Lighthouse. We arrived there about 45 minutes before the lighthouse closed, so we decided to take a pedicab instead of walking the mile over.
I really wanted to walk, but these guys are tired from the day already, and so they make us
So lazy.
take the pedicab. This is actually pretty awesome.
You can't actually drive to the lighthouse unless you have an authorized vehicle, so you can walk the elevated boardwalk path, which we do on the way back, or you can take one of these pedicabs, which will drop you off right in front. Once you get dropped off, you can pay the $10 fee to go all the way to the top of the lighthouse, or you can just walk around on the bottom floor to see their small museum. Since we had limited time, we just immediately bought our ticket and started walking to the top.
182 steps to the top of the lighthouse, and I just found out that.
This is very similar to steps to the Statue of Liberty when you go up from the pedestal to the ground.
So I'm practicing for my Statue of Liberty trip next week.
Yeah.
Dang, we're not very far and I already feel tired. We're right there. That's a long ways up.
182 steps is no joke, but luckily every 15 to 20 steps there's a window where you can sit for a second and look out over the view as you climb. Eventually we reached the last 2 staircases that brought us all the way up to the top of the tower. The first thing you can do is peek up to where the light is actually located, and then you can walk out on the platform and have 360-degree views of the surrounding island. It's definitely not for those who are afraid of heights, as you are very high up here, but the views should make it worth it. We spent about 20 minutes up here, and the volunteer told us that on a clear day you can actually see all the way to Manhattan. Unfortunately for us, it was a little bit hazy, so we didn't see anything, but that would be pretty incredible to see the buildings of Manhattan from out here.
Here's an example of what we just climbed up. It was a long climb to the top.
So all of the lighthouses actually have different colors. People who would be sailing 200 years ago would know where they were by seeing this color configuration. Provided it wasn't like in the dark of night, and they could say, this is how you know this is Fire Island, because of the black and the white. Montauk is different, Huntington Light is different, they're all different color configurations.
We spent a few minutes in the museum before they closed up, and then we headed out on the trail out towards the beach.
So all the rest of the museum was closed, and it was good that we took that cab over because everything would have been closed if we would have walked. Right now we're exploring the Great South Bay. Pretty great, and views of the lighthouse. How come the South Bay is the only one that gets to be great?
Well, the Great North Bay, I guess, would be like on Island Sound. That's just so great that it doesn't even.
It doesn't need to be called it. All right, all right. The Great South Bay is just trying to hold up.
Right next to a piece of a shipwreck, there's another museum building that you can see if it's open.
It's closed right now, but there's the lens. Pretty cool to see, and definitely massive. Right in the shadow of the lighthouse.
Once you're done exploring the lighthouse, then you'll walk the 3/4 of a mile back to the parking area. You can either take the elevated platform, or you can head out to the beach and you can go back that direction. I did forget to mention earlier that this is the second lighthouse. The first was built here in 1826, and then pieces were recycled into the present day lighthouse, which was built here in 1858.
All right, we are leaving the National Seashore, and we are heading to a few more stops before our trip to Long Island is done.
After going back over the bridge, we headed to Coyle's Ice Cream, which is a loved spot in this part of Long Island. It's been here since the 80s, but it has that fun 1950s diner look inside and has all sorts of crazy specialty sundaes.
Such a crazy concoction. Look at that thing.
Yeah.
That's not for a child. That's for
amazing.
a man.
It looks amazing.
Wow. Wow.
Swedish Fish and Sour Patch Kids.
Oh my gosh.
And rainbow sprinkles.
Have you ever seen someone like him order that before? No. There's a first for everything. All right, moment of truth.
Swedish Fish, Sour Patch Kids, whipped cream is amazing.
I would agree though, this is very good ice cream.
Yeah.
They had like 60, 70 flavors. Definitely come here.
It was rush hour when we left the ice cream shop, so it took us about 45 minutes to get back to the North Shore. Our last stop was in Huntington, where we wanted to explore the downtown area a little bit before I got back on the train. Well, it seems like we're just doing a lot of eating in this video. It had been a while since we had had regular food, so we headed to this Greek spot that they loved called Perea.
This is the best Greek place in Huntington, and Long Island is known for its Greek food. There's Greek food all over the place,
Got it.
and this is our favorite place.
Nice.
And we have tried a lot of Greek food on Long Island.
It really was excellent Greek food, and if you can help us with an argument, please tell us in the comments whether you think it's pronounced Hero or Gyro. After dinner, we headed out to wander around Huntington a little bit. The town of Huntington was founded in 1653, and it's still a popular place with a vibrant downtown full of restaurants, shops, and even breweries.
Cheers, brother.
To a good day of adventure. All right, so we explored the town, we explored the North and South Shore. We have one more crazy thing to do before we end this video, and that's apparently to get something called a cold slice.
For this last thing, we headed to Little Vincent's.
What is this monstrosity that you're having me eat before I leave?
So it's a hot slice of New York pizza with cold shredded cheese on top, and while you eat it, it melts. And it's the most amazing thing ever.
Raise your hand if you think this is going to be the most amazing thing ever. When in Rome. Gotta get the good fold going.
Gotta get the proper fold, yeah.
Can see that this is melting a little bit. All right, you ready? Not as bad as I expected. Surprisingly good. However, I would never order it.
It's better as it melts. It's texture, mouthfeel.
You got this person just trying to really get me excited about the pizza right here. Then I'm already in. I'm already like, I expected to hate it. It's not bad.
It looks weird.
Yeah.
It's totally
What do you give this out of 10?
that's my favorite slice. I don't get it here, but the concept, the cold cheese on a hot slice that is my thing.
With that, our Long Island day has come to a close. Tell the people where they can find you at.
Magellen and Greyhound on YouTube.
And if you're into gardening,
You can find me at resprout.com.
and I tried some of the blackberries in your garden today, better than cold cheese on a pizza. We'll see you on the next one.